Hare Krishna. Chapter 38, Indifference and Separation. The great devotee Uddhava once wrote a letter to Krishna. My dear Krishna, I have just finished the study of all kinds of philosophical books and Vedic verses about the goal of life. And so now I have a little reputation for my studies. But still, in spite of my reputation, my knowledge is condemned because although enjoying the effulgence of Vedic knowledge, I could not appreciate the effulgence emanating from the nails of your toes. Therefore, sooner my pride and Vedic knowledge are finished, the better it will be. This is an example of indifference. Another devotee very anxiously expressed himself thus: my mind is flickering, so I cannot concentrate it upon your lotus feet. And seeing this inefficiency in myself, I become ashamed, and the whole night I am unable to sleep because I am exasperated by my great inability. In the Krishna Karnamrit, Vilvamangal Thakur has explained his restlessness as follows: my dear Lord, your naughtiness in boyhood is the most wonderful thing in the three worlds, and you yourself know what this naughtiness is. As such, you can very easily understand my flickering mind. This is to know you and me. Therefore, I simply yearning to know how can I fix my mind on your lotus feet.
Another devotee expressed his impudence by saying, "My dear Lord, without considering my lowly position, I must confess to you that my eyes are just like black wasp desiring to hover hover at his lotus feet." In the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth chapter, verse 37, the great says Narada informs Maharaj Yudhishthira about Prahlad Maharaj, who was a devotee from the very beginning of his life. The proof of Prahlad Maharaj's natural devotion is that even he was a small child, did not play with his playmates, but was always eager to praise the glories of the Lord. Instead of joining in their supportive acrobatic feats, he remained an inactive child because he was always in trance meditating on Krishna. As such, there was no possibility of his being touched by an external world. The following statement is about a Brahmana devotee. This Brahmana is a very expert in all kinds of activities, but I do not know why he is looking up without moving his eyes. It appears that his body is fixed, motionless, just like a doll. I can guess that in this condition, he has been captivated by the transcendental beauty of that expert flute player, Sri Krishna. By being attached to him, he simply. वही- वही मैं खुद कर रही थी। एक मिनट रुक जा।
This is an example of how a devotee can become inner due to ecstatic love. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 4th chapter, verse 40, Prahlad Maharaj says that even in his childhood, when he was loudly speaking the glories of the Lord, he used to dance just like a shameless madman. And sometimes, being fully absorbed in thought on the pastimes of the Lord, he used to imitate such pastimes. This is an instance of devotees being almost like a madman. Similarly, it is said that the great sage Narad was so ecstatically in love with Krishna that he would sometimes dance naked, and sometimes his whole body would become stunned. Sometimes he would laugh very loudly, sometimes he would cry very loudly, sometimes he would remain silent, and sometimes he would appear to be suffering from some disease, although he had no disease. This is another instance of becoming like a madman in ecstasy. In the ecstasy of devotion. In the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, it is stated that when Prahlad Maharaj was thinking himself unfit to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he immersed himself in great distress in an ocean of unhappiness. As such, he used to shed tears and lie down on the floor as though unconscious. The students of a great devotee once talked among themselves in this way. My dear God brothers, our spiritual master, after seeing the lotus feet of the Lord, has thrown himself into the fire of lamentation. And because of this fire, the water of his life has almost dried away. Let us now pour the nectar of the holy name through his ears. Oh, and by our doing so, the swan of his life may again show signs of life.
When Lord Krishna went to the city of Shonatpura to fight with Bali's son Bana to cut off all his hands, Uddhava, being separated from Krishna and thinking of his fight, was almost completely stunned into unconsciousness. When a devotee is fully in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there may be the following symptoms due to his feelings of separation from the Lord: a feverish condition of the body, withering of the body, lack of sleep, non attachment, inertness, appearing disease, madness, unconsciousness, and sometimes death. As far as feverish condition of the body is concerned, Uddhava once told Narad Muni, "My dear great sage, the lotus flower that is a friend of the sun may be a cause of distress for us. The fire in the ocean may cause some burning sensation, and Indivara, the son of the moon, may distress us in various ways. We do not mind, but the most regrettable factor is that all of them remind us of Krishna, and this is giving us too much distress. This is an instance of feverish condition, which is due to being separated from Krishna.
Some of the devotees who went to see Krishna at Dwarka were detained at the door and said, My dear Krishna, O friend of the Pandus, as the swan loves to dive into the water among the lily flowers and would die if taken from the water, so we wish only to be with you. Our limbs are shrinking and fading because you have been taken away from us. The king of Bahula, although very comfortably situated in his palace, began to think the nights very long and distressing because of his separation from Krishna. King Yudhishthir once said, Krishna, the chariot driver of Arjuna, is the only relative of mine within the three worlds. Therefore, my mind is becoming maddened day and night with separation from his lotus feet, and I do not know how to situate myself or where shall I go to attain any steadiness of mind. This is another example of lack of sleep. Some of the cowherd friends of Krishna said, Dear Krishna, O enemy of Moor, a demon, just think of your personal servant Raktaka. Simply because he saw a peacock feather, he is now closing his eyes and is no longer attentive to pasturing the cows. Rather, he has left them in a far away pasture and has not even bothered to use his stick to control them. This is an instance of mental imbalance due to separation from Krishna.
When Lord Krishna went to the capital of King Yudhishthir, Uddhava was so afflicted by the fire of separation from Sri Krishna that the perspiration from his inflamed body and the tears from his eyes poured from him. And in this way, he became completely stunned. When Sri Krishna left the city of Dwarka to seek out the Shamantaka jewel, and he was late returning home, Uddhava became so afflicted that the symptoms of disease became manifest on his body. Actually, due to his excessive aesthetic love for Krishna, Uddhava became known in Dwarka as crazy. To his great fortune, on the day, Uddhava's reputation as a crazy fellow was firmly established. Uddhava's craziness was practically proved when he went to Raivataka hill to minutely observe the congested back cloud. In his disturbed condition, he began to pray to these clouds, and he expressed his jubilation by bowing down before them. Uddhava informed Krishna, "My dear leader of the Yadu dynasty, your servants of Vrindavan cannot sleep at night thinking of you. So now they are all lying down on the bank of Yamuna, almost paralyzed, and it appears that they are almost dead because their breathing is very slow. This is an instance of becoming unconscious due to separation from Krishna. Krishna was once informed, You are the life and soul of all inhabitants of Vrindavan. So, because you have left Vrindavan, all of the servitors of your lotus feet, there are suffering. It is as if the lakes filled with lotus flower have dried up from the scorching heat of separation from you. In the example given here, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are compared to the lakes filled with lotus flowers, and because of the scorching heat of separation from Krishna, the lakes, along with the lotus flower of their lives, are being burned up, and the swans in the lakes who compared to the vitality of the inhabitants of Vrindavan are no longer desiring to live there. In other words, because of the scorching heat, the swans are leaving the lakes. This metaphor is used to describe the condition of the devotees separated from Krishna.
Chapter 39 Ways of Meeting Krishna. When Krishna and his devotees meet, the meeting is technically called yoga or linking up with the Lord. Such meetings between Krishna and his devotees can be divided into three classes, namely perfection, satisfaction, and steadiness. When the devotee meets Krishna with eagerness, great eagerness, that state of meeting is called perfection. In the Krishna Karnamrit, Bilvamangal Thakur describes how Krishna meets his devotee with peacock feather on his head and Martaka jewels on his chest, and with his ever enchanting smile, his restless eyes, and his very delicate body. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 38th chapter, verse 34, Shukadev Goswami tells King Parikshit, "My dear king, as soon as Akrura, the chariot driver, saw Krishna and his elder brother Balram in Vrindavan, he immediately got down from the chariot and, being greatly afflicted by affection of the transcendental Lord, fell down upon his lotus feet to offer respectful obeisances." There are some of the instances of perfectional meetings with Krishna. When a devotee meets Krishna after a long separation, the meeting is one of satisfaction. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th chapter, verse 10, it is stated that when Lord Krishna returned to his capital, Dwarka, the inhabitant said, "Dear Lord, if you remain in foreign countries for so long, we shall certainly be bereft of seeing your smiling face. Upon observing your face, we, your eternal servitors, become greatly satisfied. All the anxieties of our existence are immediately mitigated. If we cannot see you because you are long absent from Dwarka, then it will be impossible for us to live anymore." This is an instance of satisfaction in meeting Krishna after long separation. Krishna's personal servant Daruk, seeing Krishna at the door of Dwarka, forget, forgot to offer him respects with folded hands.
When a devotee is ultimately situated in the association with Krishna, his position is called steadiness in devotional service. His steady position in devotional service is explained in the book known as Hamsaduta. And it is described there how Akrura, who was considered by the gopis to be terror personified, would talk with Krishna about the activities of Kuru dynasty. A similar steady position was held by Uddhava, the disciple of Brihaspati. He would always massage the lotus feet of Krishna while kneeling down in the ground before him. When a devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord, he is said to have reached the attainment of yoga. The English equivalent of the word yoga is linking up. So, actual linking up with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins when the devotee renders service unto him. Devotees situated in a transcendental rasa or servitorship render their particular service whenever there is an opportunity. Sometimes they sit down in front of Krishna to receive orders. Some persons are reluctant, reluctant to accept this level of devotional service as actual bhakti yoga. And in some of the Puranas, it is also in some of the Puranas, also the servitorship of devotional service to Krishna is not accepted as the actual bhakti yoga system. But Srimad Bhagavatam has clearly indicated that the for servitorship with Krishna is the actual beginning of yoga realization. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, third chapter, verse 32, it is stated that when the devotee are engaged in the stars of bhakti yoga, sometimes they cry from thinking of Krishna, sometimes they laugh, sometimes they become jubilant, sometimes they talk in very uncommon ways, sometimes they dance, sometimes they sing, sometimes they are actually engaged in service of the Lord, and sometimes they sit down silently as absorbed as absorbed in trance.
Similarly, in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 37, verse 34, Prahlad Maharaj says to his friends, "My dear friends, as soon as pure devotees of Lord Krishna hear of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, who is the eternal servitor of pastimes, reservoir of pastimes, or hear about his transcendental qualities, they become overpowered with jubilation. Ecstatic symptoms are manifested in their bodies. They shed tears, talk falteringly, glorify the Lord in a loud voice, and chant and dance in ecstasy. These ecstasies are always there, but sometimes they overcome all limits and the symptoms become manifest to all. In the process of surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are six symptoms: to accept everything favorable for devotional service, to reject everything unfavorable for devotional service, to believe that Krishna will always give protection, to identify oneself with Krishna's devotees, always to feel inability without the help of Krishna, and always to think of oneself inferior to Krishna, even though one may have full capacity to perform something on his own. When one is substantially convinced that he is actually protected by Krishna in all circumstances, that feeling is called reverential devotion. Reverential devotion is executed in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and with his other devotees, other practice, and with his other protected devotees. When Krishna was residing in Dwarka, some of the elderly members of Yadu dynasty would occasionally put some important matter before him. At such a time, Krishna would carefully give attention to those matters, and if there were some humorous topics mentioned, Krishna would immediately respond with a smiling face. Sometimes, when Krishna was executing his devotees in the assembly known as Sudharma, he would ask the elderly members for good advice. By such activities, he is manifest as the supreme spiritual master, the supreme executive head, the superior intelligence, and the supreme power protector and maintainer.
Chapter 40, Reverential Devotion of Sons and Other Subordinates. A true reverential devotion is exhibited by persons who think themselves subordinate to Krishna, and by persons who think themselves sons of Krishna. The best example of this subordination are Sarana, Gada, and Subhadra. They were all members of the Yadu dynasty, and they always used to think themselves protected by Krishna. Similarly, Krishna's sons such as Pradyumna, Charudeshna, and Samba felt the same way. Krishna had many sons in Dwarka. He begot 10 sons by each of his 16,108 queens, and all of these sons, headed by Pradyumna, uh, Charudeshna, and Samba, used to think themselves always protected by Krishna. When Krishna's sons dined with him, they would sometimes open their mouths for Krishna to feed them. Sometimes, when Krishna would pat on one of his sons, the son would sit on Krishna's lap, and while Krishna was blessing son's head by smelling it, the others would shed tears, thinking how many pious activities he must have performed in his previous life. Out of Krishna's many sons, Pradyumna, a son of Krishna's chief queen Rukmini, is considered the leader. Pradyumna's bodily features resemble Krishna's exactly. Pure devotees of Krishna glorify Pradyumna because he is so fortunate, like father, like son. There is a description in the Hari Vamsha of Pradyumna's activity when he kidnapped Prabhavati. Pradyumna addressed Prabhavati at that time and said, "My dear Prabhavati, just look at the head of our family, Sri Krishna. He is Vishnu himself, the supreme driver of Garuda, and he is our supreme master. Because we have become so proud and confident of his protecting us, we sometimes do not even care about fighting with Tripurari, Lord Shiva. There are two kinds of devotees engaged in devotional service with awe and veneration: the Lord subordinates and his sons. The servitors in the abode of Dwarka always worship Krishna as most respectable and revered personality of Godhead. They are captivated by Krishna because of his super excellent opulences. The members who always thought themselves protected by Krishna could readily convert their uh, conviction into practical demonstration, because it was sometimes found that the sons of Krishna acted very unlawfully in various places but were nonetheless given full protection by Krishna and Balram.
Even Balram, the elder brother of Krishna, sometimes unknowingly offered respect to him. Once, when Krishna came before Lord Balram, Krishna was anxious to offer his respects to his elder brother, but at that time Balram's club was lowered down upon Krishna's lotus feet. In other words, the club in Balram's hand offered its own respects to Krishna. These feelings of subordination, as explained above, are sometimes manifested as Anubhav. When demigods from the heavenly planets came to Sri Krishna, all of Krishna's sons followed them, and Lord Brahma sprinkled water from his kamandalu upon them. When the demigods came before Krishna, the sons, instead of sitting on golden chairs, sat down on the floor, which was covered with deer skin. Sometimes the behavior of Krishna's sons appears similar to the behavior of his personal servants. For example, the sons used to offer their obeisances. They were silent, submissive, and gentle. They were always ready to carry out Krishna's orders even at the risk of life. When present before Krishna, they bowed down on the ground. They were very silent and steady, and they used to restrain coughing and laughing before the Lord. Also, they never discussed Krishna's pastimes in conjugal love. In other words, devotees who are engaged in reverential devotional service should not discuss the conjugal love affairs of Krishna. No one should claim his eternal relationship with Krishna unless he is liberated. In the conditioned state of life, the devotees have to execute the prescribed duties as recommended in the codes of devotional service. When one is mature in devotional service and is a realized soul, he can know his own eternal relationship with Krishna. One should not artificially try to establish some relationship. In a premature stage, it is sometimes found that a lusty, conditioned person will artificially try to establish some relationship with Krishna in conjugal love. The result of this is that one becomes prakrit sahitya, or one who takes everything very cheaply. Although such persons may be very anxious to establish a relationship with Krishna in conjugal love, their conditioned life in the material world is still most abominable. A person who has actually established his relationship with Krishna can no longer act on the material plane, and his personal character cannot be criticized.
When Cupid came on on the occasion to visit Lord Krishna, some devotee addressed him thus: "My dear Cupid, because you have been so fortunate as you have placed your eyesight on the lotus feet of Krishna, the drops of perspiration on your body have become frozen, and they resemble Kantaki fruits, a kind of small fruit found in thorny bushes. These are signs of ecstasy and veneration for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the princess of Yadu dynasty heard the vibration of Krishna's Pankajanya conch shell, the hairs of their bodies immediately stood up in aesthetic jubilation. It seemed that time it seemed at that time that all the hairs of the bodies of the princess were dancing in ecstasy. In addition to jubilation, there are sometimes symptoms of disappointment. Pradyumna once addressed Samba with these words: my dear Samba, you are such a glorified personality. I have seen that I have seen that when you were playing on the ground, your body became covered with dust. Yet our Father Lord Krishna still took you up on his lap. But I am so unfortunate that I could never get such love from our Father. This statement is an example of disappointment in love. To regard to regard Krishna as one superior is called reverential feeling. And when, in addition to this, a devotee feels that Krishna is his protector, his transcendental love for Krishna is increased, and his combined feelings are called reverential devotion. When this steady reverential devotion increases further, it is called a love of Godhead in reverential devotion. Attraction and affection are two prominent symptoms of this stage. In this reverential devotional attitude, Pradyumna never talked to his father in a loud voice. In fact, he never so much as unlocked the lips of his mouth. Nor did he ever show his face filled with tears. He would always glance only at the lotus feet of his father. There is another example of steady and fixed love for Krishna in the instance of Arjuna's informing him of the death of Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, who was also the nephew of Krishna. Abhimanyu was the son of Subhadra, Krishna's younger sister. He was killed at the Battle of Kurukshetra by the combined efforts of all commanders in the King Duryodhana's army, namely Karna, Ashwathama, Jayadratha, Bhishma, Kripacharya, and Dronacharya. In order to assure Krishna that there was no change of love of Subhadra's part, Arjuna informed him, although Abhimanyu was killed almost in your presence, Subhadra's love for you is not agitated at all, nor has it even slightly changed its original color.
The affection that Krishna has for his devotees was expressed by him when he asked Pradyumna not to feel so bashful before him. He addressed Pradyumna thus: "My dear boy, just give up your feeling of inferiority and do not hang your neck. Just talk to me in a clear voice and do not shed tears. You may look straight at me and you may place your hands on my body without any hesitation. There is no need of exhibiting so much reverence before your father." Pradyumna's attachment for Krishna was also exhibited by his action. Whenever he was ordered by his father to execute something, he would immediately execute the order, taking the task as nectarian even though it may have been poison. Similarly, when he would find something to be disapproved by his father, he would immediately reject it as poison, even though it may have been Oh, Nectarian. Pradyumna's attachment and anxiety for Krishna was expressed when he said to his wife Rati, "The enemy Shambar is already killed. Now I'm very anxious to see my father, who is my spiritual master and who always carries the conch shell known as Panchajanya." Pradyumna felt a great separation from Krishna and he was absent from Dwarka at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He said, "Since my father has left Dwarka, I do not take much pleasure in practicing fighting, nor am I interested in any kind of sporting pastimes. And what need is there to speak of these things? I do not even wish to stay at Dwarka in the absence of my father." When Pradyumna came back home after killing Shambhasura, Shambhar Shambharasur, and saw his father Krishna before him, he at once became so overjoyed that he himself could not understand his joy on that occasion. This is an instance of success in separation. A similar satisfaction was observed when Krishna returned from the battlefield of Kurukshetra to his home at Dwarka. All of his sons were so overjoyed that out of ecstasy they repeatedly made many mistakes. These mistakes were a sign of complete satisfaction. Every day Pradyumna looked over Krishna's lotus feet with tears in his eyes. These signs of reverential devotion on the part of Pradyumna may be described in the same way they have been described in the case of other devotees.
Chapter 41. Fraternal devotion. When a devotee is permanently situated in devotional service and by symptoms of ecstasy, he has developed and matured a fraternal mellow or flavor in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His feelings is called fraternal love of Godhead. The impetus for such fraternal love of God is God Himself. When one is liberated and discovers his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, the Lord Himself becomes the impetus for increasing fraternal love. The eternal associates of Lord in Vrindavan has described this as follows: the Lord Hari, whose bodily hue is like the Indra jewel, whose smiling is as beautiful as the Kunda flower, those silk those silk dress is as yellow as golden autumn foliage, whose chest is beautified with garlands of flowers, and who is always playing upon his flute. This enemy of the Agha demon is always attracting our hearts by wandering about Vrindavan. There are similar statements of fraternal love expressed outside the jurisdiction of Vrindavan, when the sons of Pandu, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, saw Krishna in his four-handed form on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, holding his conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower, they completely forgot themselves and became merged into the ocean of nectarian happiness. This shows how the sons of Pandu, King Yudhishthira, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev were all caught up in the fraternal love of Krishna. Sometimes the different names form um, paraphernalia, the transcendental qualities provoke fraternal love. For instance, Krishna's nice dress, his strongly built body, the all auspicious symptoms of his body, his knowledge of different languages, his learned teachings in Bhagavad Gita, his uncommon genius in all fields of endeavor, his exhibition of expert knowledge, his mercy, his chivalry, his behavior as a conjugal lover, his intelligence, his forgiveness, his attraction for all kinds of men, his opulence, and his happiness all provoke fraternal love.
The impetus to fraternal love upon seeing the associates of Krishna in Vrindavan is also very natural. For their personal bodily features, their qualities, and their dress are all equal to Krishna's. These associates are always happy in their service to Krishna, and they are generally known as Vayasyas or friends of the same age. Vayasyas are fully confident of protection by Krishna. Devotees sometimes pray, "Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Vayasyas of Krishna, who are firmly convinced of Krishna's friendship and protection and whose devotion to Krishna is ever fixed. They are fearless and on a level with Krishna they discharge their transcendental loving devotional service. Such eternal Vayasyas are also found beyond the jurisdiction of Vrindavan in places such as Dwarka and Hastinapur. Except for Vrindavan, all the places of Krishna's pastimes are called Puras, towns. Mathura and Hastinapur, the capital of Kurus, are both Puras. Personalities like Arjuna, Bhima, Draupadi, and Sridham Ramana are counted among Krishna's paternal devotees in the Puras. How the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas, enjoy Krishna's association is described as follows. When Sri Krishna arrived in Indraprastha, the capital of the Kurus, Maharaj Yudhishthir immediately came out to smell the flavor of Krishna's head. It is the Vedic custom that a superior smells the head of his subordinates when the subordinates offer respects to the superior by touching his feet. Similarly, Arjuna and Bhima embraced Krishna with great jubilation. The two younger brothers, named Nakula and Sahadev, touched the lotus feet of Krishna with tears in their eyes and offered their respects. In this way, all the five Pandav brothers enjoyed the fraternal friendship of Krishna in transcendental valor. Of the five Pandus, Arjuna is the most intimately connected with Krishna. He has a nice bow called Gandiv in his hand. His thighs are compared to the trunks of elephants and his eyes are always reddish. When Krishna and Arjuna are together in a chariot, they become celestial beauties, pleasing to the eyes of everyone. It is said that once Arjuna was lying on his bed with his head upon Krishna's lap and was talking and joking with Krishna in great relaxation, enjoying Krishna's company with smiling and great satisfaction. As far as the Vaishyas, friends in Vrindavan are concerned, they become greatly distressed when they cannot see Krishna even for a moment.
There is the following prayer by a devotee for the Vaisyas in Vrindavan. All glories to Krishna's Vaisyas, who are just like Krishna in their age, qualities, pastimes, dress, and beauty. They are all accustomed to playing on their flutes made of palm leaves, and they all have buffalo horn buggles ornamented like Krishna's with jewels, such as Indranila, and with gold and coral. They are always jubilant like Krishna. May these glorious companions of Krishna always protect us. The Vaisyas are in Vrindavan are in such intimate friendship with Krishna that sometimes they think themselves as good as Krishna. Here is an instance of such friendly feeling. When Krishna was holding up Govardhan hill with his left hand, the Vaisya said, "Dear friend, you have been standing for the last 7 days and nights without any rest. This is very troublesome for us because we see that you have undertaken a severely laborious task. We think therefore that you need not to continue to stand in that way holding the hill. You just can transfer it on onto Sudama's hand. We are very much grieved to see you in this position. If you think that Sudama is not able to support Govardhan Hill, then at least you should change hands. Instead of supporting it with your left hand, please transfer it to your right hand so that we can give your left hand a massage. This is an instance of intimacy showing how much the Vaisyas considered themselves to be equal to Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 12th chapter, verse 11, Shukdev Goswami tells King Parikshit, "My dear king, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead to the learned transcendentalists, and he is the supreme happiness for the impersonalist. He is the supreme worshipable deity for the devotee, and he is just like an ordinary boy to one who is under the spell of Maya." And just imagine, these cowherd boys are now playing with the supreme person as though they were on the equal level. By this, anyone can understand that these boys have must accumulated heaps of the results of pious activities to enable them to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such immediate friendship. There is a description of Krishna's feelings for his Vayasyas in Vrindavan. He once said to Balram, "My dear brother, when my companions were being devoured by the Aghasur, hot tears poured down from my eyes. And as they were washing my cheeks, my elder brother, for at least one moment I completely lost myself."
Within Gokul, Krishna's Vaisyas are generally divided into four groups: well-wishers, friends, confidential friends, intimate friends. Krishna's well-wisher friends are a little bit older than Krishna and they have some parental affection for him. Because of their being older than Krishna, they always try to protect him from any harm. As such, they sometimes bear weapons so that they can chastise any mischievous person who want to do harm to Krishna. Counted among the well-wishers' friends are Subhadra, Mandali Bhadra, Bhadravardhan, Gobhat, Yaksha, Indrabhat, Bhadrang, Veerbhadra, Mahagun, Vijay, and Balbhadra. They are older than Krishna and always thinking of his welfare, not to be confused with Krishna's sister Subhadra. One of the elderly friends said, "My dear Mandali Bhadra, why are you wielding a shiny sword as though you were running toward Arishtasur to kill him? My dear Baldev, why are you unnecessarily bearing that heavy blow? My dear Vijay, don't be unnecessarily agitated. My dear Bhadravardhan, there is no need to make these threatening motions. If you will all look more closely, you will see that it is only a thunder cloud upon Govardhan Hill. It is not the Arishtasur, the shape of a bull, as you have imagined. These older well-wishing friends of Krishna had imagined a large cloud to be the Arishtasur, appearing in the shape of huge bull. In the midst of their excitement, one of them ascertained that it was actually only a cloud on a Govardhan Hill. Therefore, he informed the others not to take trouble of worrying about Krishna because there was no present danger from Aristasur. Among the well-wisher friends, Mandali Bhadra and Balbhadra are the chiefs. Mandali Bhadra is described as follows. His complexion is yellowish and his dress is very attractive. He always carries a stick of various colors. He wears a peacock feather on his head and always looks very beautiful. Mandali Bhadra's attitude is revealed in the statement. My dear friends, our beloved Krishna is now very tired from working with the cows in the pasturing grounds and from traveling all over the forest. I can see that he is very fatigued. Let me massage his head silently while he is taking rest in his house. And you, Subal, you just massage his thighs. When devotee described the personal beauty of Baldev as follows. Let me take shelter of the lotus feet of Balram, whose beauty is enhanced by earrings touching his cheeks. His face is decorated with tilak made from kasturi, and his broad chest is decorated with a garland of gunja, gunja, small corn shells. His complexion is as white as an autumn cloud. He wears garments of blue color and his voice is very grave. His arms are very long, touching his thighs, and he has shown his great strength by killing the Pralambha demon. Let me take shelter of this chivalrous Balram. Balram and Baldev are different names of the same expansion of Krishna. He is Krishna's elder brother. Baldev's affection for Krishna is illustrated in this statement to Subal. My dear friend, please inform Krishna not to go to Kalia's lake today. Today is his birthday, and so I wish to go along with Mother Yashoda to bathe him. Tell him he should not leave the house today. This shows how Balram, Krishna's elder brother, took care of Krishna with parental love within the scope of fraternal affection.
Friends who are younger than Krishna, who are always attached to him, and who gives all kinds of services are called ordinary friends, or simply friends. Such ordinary friends are called sakhas, and the names of some sakhas are Vishal, Vrishabha, Ojasvi, Devarastha, Varuthapa, Maranda, Kusumapida, Manibandha, and Karandhama. All of these all of these Sakha friends of Krishna seek only to serve him. Sometimes some of them would rise early in the morning and immediately go to Krishna's place and wait for the door to see Krishna and accompany him to the pasturing grounds. In the meantime, Krishna would be dressed by Mother Yashoda, and when she would see a boy standing at the door, she would call him, "Well, Vishala, why are you standing here? Come here." So, with their permission of the Mother Yashoda, he would immediately enter the house. And Mother Yashoda was dressing Krishna. He would try to help put on Krishna's ankle bells, and Krishna would jokingly strike him with his flute. When Mother Yashoda would call Krishna, "What is this? Why are you teasing your friend?" And Krishna would laugh, and the friend would also laugh. These are some of the activities of Krishna's sakhas. Sometimes the sakhas would take care of the cows who were going to hither and who were going hither and thither. They would tell Krishna, "Your cows are going here and your cows are going off here and there," and Krishna would thank them. Sometimes, when Krishna and his sakhas went to play in the pasturing ground, Kamsa would send a demon to kill Krishna. Therefore, almost every day there was a fight with some different kinds of demon. After fighting with a demon, Krishna would feel fatigued. The hairs on his head would be scattered, and the sakhas would immediately come and try to relieve him from in different ways. Some friends would say, "My dear Vishal, please take care of this fan of lotus feet. Please take this fan of lotus leaves and fan Krishna so that he may feel some comfort. Varuthappa uses brush the scattered hairs on the Krishna's head which have fallen upon his face. Vrishabha don't talk as unnecessarily. Immediately massage Krishna's body. His arms have become tired from fighting and wrestling from that demon. Oh, just see how our friend Krishna has become tired. These are the examples of treatment given to Krishna by the Sakhas.
One of the Sakhas, known as Devaprastha, is described as follows. He is very strong, a ready scholar, and is very expert in playing ball. He wears a white dress and he ties his hair into a bunch with a rope. Whenever there is fight between Krishna and the demons Devaprastha is the first to help and he fights just like an elephant. One of the gopis once said to her friend, "My dear beautiful friend, when Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, was taking rest within the cave of a hill, he was keeping his head on the arms of Sri Rama, and he was putting his left hand on Rama's chest. Taking this opportunity, Devaprastha, out of his strong affection for Krishna, immediately began to massage his legs. Such are the activities of Krishna's friends out on the pasturing grounds. The most confidential friends are called Priya Sakhas and are almost Krishna's age. Because of their very confidential friendship, their behavior is only on the basis of pure friendship. The behavior of other friends is on the ground of parental love of servitude. But the basic principle of confidential friends is simply friendship on an equal level. Some confidential friends are as follows: Sri Dhamma, Sudama, Dhamma, Vasudhama, Kinkini, Stoka Krishna, Amshu, Bhadrasen, Vilasi, Punrika, Vitanka, and Kalavinka. By their various activities and different pastimes, all of these friends used to give transcendental pleasure to Krishna. The behavior of these confidential friends is described by a friend of Radharani who told Radharani, "My dear graceful Radharani, your intimate friend Krishna is also served by his intimate boyfriend. Some of them cut jokes with him in mild voices and please him very much by this. For example, Krishna had one Brahmin boy, had one Brahmin friend whose name was Madhumangal. This boy would joke by playing the part of a greedy Brahmin. Whenever the friends ate, he would eat more than all others, especially laddus, of which he was very fond. Then, after eating more laddus than anyone else, Madhumangal would still not be satisfied and would say to Krishna, "If you give me one more laddu, then I shall be pleased to give you my blessings, so that your friend Radharani will be very very much pleased with you." The Brahmanas are supposed to give blessings to the Vaishyas farming in the merchant caste, and Krishna presented himself as the son of Maharaj Nanda Vaishya. So the Brahmana boy was right in giving blessings to Krishna. Thus, Krishna was very pleased by his friend's blessings, and he would supply him with more and more laddus. Sometimes a confidential friend would come before Krishna and embrace him with great affection and love. Another friend would then come up with from the rear and cover Krishna's eyes with his hands. Krishna would always feel very happy by such dealings with his confidential friends. Out of all these confidential friends, Sri Rama is considered to be the chief. Sri Rama used to put on a yellow colored dress. He would carry a fallow horn, and his turban was of reddish copper color. His bodily complexion was blackish, and around his neck there was a nice garland. He would always challenge Krishna in joking friendship. Let us pray to Sri Rama to bestow his mercy upon us. Sometimes Sri Rama used to address Krishna, "Oh, you are so cruel that you left us alone on the bank of Yamuna, and we were all from not seeing you there. Now it is our great fortune that we are able to see you here. If you want to pacify us, you must embrace each one of us with your arms. But believe me, my dear friend, a moment's absence from you creates great havoc, not only for us but for the cows also. Everything becomes disarranged, and we become mad after you."
There are other friends who are still more confidential. They are called Priya Dharma or intimate friends. Counted among the Priya Dharma friends are Subala, Arjuna, Gandharva, Vasanta, and Ujjvala. There was talk among the friends of Radharani, the gopis, about the most intimate friends. One gopi addresses Radharani thus: "My dear Krishangi, delicate one, just see how Subala is whispering your message into Krishna's ear. How he is delivering the confidential letter of Shama Dasi silently into Krishna's hand. How he is delivering the betel nuts prepared by uh, Palika, Palika into Krishna's mouth, and how he is decorating Krishna with the garland prepared by Taraka. Did you know, my dear friend, that all these most intimate friends are of Krishna are always engaged in in his service in this way. Out of the many intimate Priya Narmas, Subala and Ujjwala are considered to be the most prominent. Subala's body is described as follows. His complexion is just like molten gold. He is very, very dear to Krishna. He always has a garland around his neck and he wears yellow clothing. His eyes are just like lotus flower petals, and he is so intelligent that by uh, um, talking and his moral instructions, all the other friends take the highest pleasure. Let us all offer a respectful obeisances unto Krishna's friend Subala. The degree of intimacy shared by Krishna and Subala can be understood by the fact that the talks between them were so confidential that no one else could understand that what they were saying. Description of Ujjwala, another intimate friend, is given as follows. Ujjwala always wears some garment of orange color, and the movements of his eyes are always very restless. He likes to decorate himself with all kinds of flowers. His bodily hue is almost like Krishna's, and on his neck there is always a necklace of pearls. He is always very dear to Krishna. Let us all worship Ujjwala, the most intimate friend of Krishna. About the confidential service of Ujjwala, this statement is to be found. Addressed by Radharani thus to one of our friends. My dear friend, it is impossible for me to keep my prestige. I want to avoid talking to Krishna anymore. But see, there again is his friend Ujjwala coming to me with his canvassing work. His entries are so powerful that it is very difficult for a gopi to resist her love for Krishna. Even though she may be very bashful, devoted to her family duties, and most faithful to her husband. The following is a statement by Ujjwala showing his jubilant nature. My dear Krishna, O killer of Aghasur, you have extended your loving affair so much that you can be compared to the great ocean, which is without limitations. And at the same time, the young girls of the world who are searching after the perfect lover have become just like rivers running into the ocean. Under the circumstances, all these rivers of young girls may try to divert their courses to some other place, but at the end they must come unto you. Among the group of different friends of Krishna, uh, some of some are well known from various scriptures, and some are well known by popular tradition. There are three divisions of Krishna. There are three divisions among Krishna's friends. Some are eternally in friendship with Krishna, some are elevated demigods, or some are perfect devotees. In all these groups, there are some who, by the nature, are fixed in Krishna's service and are always engaged in giving counsel. Some of them are very fond of joking and naturally cause Krishna to smile by their words. Some of them some of them, by their nature, are very simple, and their simplicity pleases Lord Krishna. Some of them create wonderful situations by their activities, apparently against Krishna. Some of them were very talkative, always arguing with Krishna and creating debating atmosphere. And some of them were very gentle and give pleasure to Krishna by their sweet words. All of these friends are very intimate with Krishna, and they all show expertise in their in their different activities. Their aim always is being to please Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.